talk to therapists who treat ritual abuse victims, and they tell us of the threats they've received.
I have direct knowledge of both death threats on a therapist and an attempt to end that therapist's life, which was unsuccessful.
Here in Chicago, a group of well-known therapists from all over the country had the courage to share horror stories of threats and intimidation.
Therapists have been directly threatened in ways that are quite alarming to them. The patient indicated to me that she wished to sacrifice the child with which she was pregnant. Naturally, I wasn't too enthusiastic about this. Shortly after this occurred, I started to get telephone death threats. One of the things that I would add is that we are now hearing these reports from literally hundreds of therapists in every part of the United States. Someone out there is telling us to back off.
Still, the greatest toll seems to be on the women who say that they have bred babies. Babies that were sacrificed for Satan.
I will probably have nightmares tonight about it, as I have about my Joey that I have been talking about. I wake up screaming for him now in the middle of the night. I dream that he's lost and I'm trying to find him.
Sickening, so incredibly outrageous, so incredibly unbelievable. But Zena LeVay, are these women lying?
You have to understand that every single thing you've given as examples of Satanism here are completely from a Christian standpoint. That everything you've put forth as being considered satanic is not considered satanic by my standard or my definition of Satanism.
Lying?
Well, have the bodies been found? Where are they?
Cheryl Horton, who joins us via satellite from Los Angeles. Cheryl Horton. Zena LeVay, a Satanist who A, points out that this is not in keeping with her teaching, but B says, where is the proof? Where is the proof? Why is there no proof if what you're saying is true?
Hi, Geraldo. There's no proof for a fact of one thing. They burn the bodies. They either do that, they'll chop them up and dump them in the ocean, or they'll pour them in concrete, or they take and they use them for communion and eat them and then make bones out of the tool.
Now, what the Satanists don't want you to know is that we already linked their satanic rituals to the Egyptian Book of the Dead. The Book of the Dead is a title generally given to a collection of Egyptian inscriptions and papyrus found in tombs or in mummy wrappings. The ancient Egyptians attributed the Book of the Dead to Thoth. Thoth is also known as Tehuti, and in Greece, they call him Hermes. Hermes Trismegistus. Okay? Now, I'm going to read to you some of the spells from the Book of the Dead. I'm not going to read this exact spells, but I'm going to read what they're about. Okay? And I'm going to give you the page number and who translated this. I'm going to use 3 different translations. Now, this translation is by A.E. Wallace Budge. The Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Papyrus of Ani. Egyptian text. Transliteration and translation. Published 1967, Dover Publications. Drinking blood, page 348. Cannibalism, page 200. Torture chamber, page 348. The crusher of bones, just like the woman said, they crush the bones and make them into tools, page 350. Washing in blood, page 144. Killing animals, page 178. And I have one translation from James Berkey. Egyptian Papyri and Papyrus Hunting. Published Fleming H. Revel. This is found on page 195. King Unas Eats Hearts. Now I'm going back to another A.E. Wallace Budge translation. But this is a different translation. This one is The Book of the Dead, published by Bell Publishing Company. Now this is found on page 95. King Unas is a cannibal, fond of scalping people in bondage. Spell 509. Bondage, murder, cannibalism, dismemberment. The victim's throats are cut and the body parts are boiled in a cauldron at night. Page 95. spell 510 and 511. The thighs of the firstborn are heaped up, page 95, spell 513. The ritual fire is started with thighs of a woman, page 95, spell 514. Hacking in pieces the firstborn, page 80, spell 508. Now you see the evilness. Now let's continue.
Cheryl, listen.
These people are doing murder.
Let me interrupt you. Cheryl, please, let me interrupt you. The stories, dump in the ocean, chop up the bodies, these things, they sound like they can't be happening. Ted Gunnarsson, respected law enforcement professional, recently or retired now from the FBI, former regional director of Los Angeles. Do you, sir, believe that these dreadful allegations of babies being sacrificed are true?
I absolutely believe it, without any doubt. Based on the information that's been given to me across the country by numerous survivors and by confidential sources and informants.
Then why didn't you name these people and arrest them? Never a name, never an arrest. These women come out of a group and they insist that they know the people in the group, and yet they do not identify.
What a piece of shit. This man he's saying, why don't you point them out and arrest them? When this man has been accused of child abuse and sexual molestation in 1988 by Sandy Gallant, a San Francisco Police Department. Okay? This is another link between Egypt and Satanism. Alright, look at this guy. It says this church that he created, Temple of Set, is identified as a form of Satanism. It says type of church, Pseudo Satanic. The Book of Coming Forth by Night. This is the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Alright, this is a part of it. See, Michael Aquino. He started in 1975. He left the Church of Satan and started this church, this Temple of Set. Okay? And Carl A. Rusk in Painted Black, published by Harper and Row in 1990, page 145. They document the accusations. It is not clear how long the Army has known about Aquino's particular genius of Satanism, but the San Francisco police have been especially interested since about 1980. The interest crested in November 1987 when police raided a house where a 3-year-old girl told police she had been molested by a sinister-looking man named Mickey, who snapped pictures of her in a bathtub and sexually mistreated her in a room with black walls and a cross etched on the ceiling. The girl later spotted Mickey in the PX at the Presidio Army Base in San Francisco, where Aquino was stationed. The girl said she thought Mickey was Aquino. The girl also said she recognized Mrs. Aquino. Meanwhile, authorities had found evidence of ongoing child abuse at the Presidio Daycare Center. A 3-year-old had also been molested, and the cops turned up 6 cases of sexually transmitted infections and 58 other charges at the center. A 34-year-old civilian daycare worker at Presidio facility was also a Southern Baptist minister was arrested. At first, the charges were dismissed, but subsequently, Hamwright was indicted on 12 counts of sodomy, oral copulation, and lewd conduct. Hamwright later died of AIDS. And that's page 145, painted in black. Alright?
Large mysterious cults. Name them and arrest them and get them off the street.
Does he not make a valid point?
He makes a valid point. The problem with that is, number one, police officers don't believe it. I may believe it. You may believe it. Some people in your audience may believe it. They don't believe it. Number two, if you decide to investigate these people, you have to, number one, handle it from an undercover operation. If you put an undercover operation into effect, then you have, in a sense, your own police officers become involved in these heinous crimes, and they are, of course, become murderers. And in addition to that, if you do decide to investigate these people, there's a lot of work. And many law enforcement officers are apathetic and don't want to get involved.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard this. The debate here could rage over this issue alone for hours and hours and hours.
what we're talking about here goes beyond child abuse or beyond the brainwashing of Patty Hearst or Korean War veterans. We're talking about people in some cases who are coming to us as patients who were raised in satanic cults from the time they were born. Often cults that have come over from Europe that have roots in the SS and death camp squads in some cases. These are children who tell us stories about being deprived of sleep all night, of then being required to work at manual labor exhaustingly all day long, without any food or water. When they reach a point of utter fatigue, they may then watch other people tortured. Perhaps a finger might be cut off and hung around their neck on a chain or a string as a symbol to them that